I checked my watch just as the HR assistant's voice cut across the sterile office. The digital clock blinked 5:03 p.m. I felt it before I heard it, the silent thud of a sledgehammer to my gut. My name is Daniel Ng, and in that moment, I lost everything I thought defined me. My job, my title, my carefully mapped-out future. 8 years ago, I walked into Brixton and Howe, a mid-sized marketing firm in Shanghai, fresh out of grad school. I was eager, idealistic, and convinced that hard work meant loyalty. I never said no to overtime, never once balked at 2 a.m. slide edits. I believed that dedication was currency. If you paid enough, you'd buy respect, recognition, maybe even a corner office someday. But at 5:03 p.m. on that Thursday, I discovered the truth. In corporate life, loyalty buys you nothing. It started innocently. I'd spent weeks on a major campaign, the Project Phoenix, rebrand for a luxury watchmaker. I pored over data, storyboard visuals at 2 a.m., and rehearsed my pitch until my voice cracked. On presentation day, I felt invincible. The boardroom lights shone, tablets flickered with my slides, and I delivered my vision, a complete narrative arc with emotional beats and tactical KPIs. The clients nodded, my colleagues scribbled notes, and my boss, Greg Tan, leaned back and smiled. Brilliant work, Daniel. I left the room on a high, certain that I'd secured not only the account, but my dream promotion. Instead, I got told to pack my things. The HR assistant, a woman I'd only ever seen in the cafeteria, spoke without looking up. Due to strategic restructuring, we have to let you go, effective immediately. The words felt foreign, like they belonged to someone else's story. Without a word, I walked to my desk. I scanned the framed photo of my parents at my graduation, a succulent I managed to keep alive for 3 years, the half-empty coffee mug with the company logo I'd barely used. I placed them in a cardboard carton and stood until it felt too heavy to carry. Around me, cubicles hummed and phones rang. No one stopped me. Outside, Shanghai's streets buzzed with life. Neon signs burned, taxis honked, and street vendors hawked dumplings. But I was in a bubble. My footsteps echoed along the rain-slick sidewalk as I wandered, damp collar turned up, the box under my arm growing heavier with every step. My mind replayed every late night, every personal sacrifice. I couldn't pinpoint the betrayal. It felt like 1,000 tiny slights had coalesced into this moment. After an hour, I found myself on the Bund, the river's dark water reflecting the skyline. This was my city, bold, unapologetic, always moving forward. Yet I felt still, stripped of direction. I remained by the railing until the streetlights flickered on, then moved on, following instinct rather than plan. By midnight, my phone's battery was at 10%, but I refused to reach for it. No good could come from scrolling pity messages. Instead, I ducked into a 24-hour cafe, the air warm with steam and chatter. I ordered green tea, something I never drank, and pulled out my laptop. I typed "fired at 5 p.m., famous by 5 a.m., as my headline and began to write, fingers trembling not from fear but purpose. I poured my soul into that post, the betrayal, the injustice, the blood sweat nights, the unspoken promises. I described Project Phoenix in full, not just the slides, but the strategy, the human stories behind every data point. I closed with a challenge. If opportunity knocks, build your own damn door, because sometimes the end of the road is the beginning of the journey. I hit publish at 1 a.m. At 2 a.m., 12,000 views. At 4 a.m., 30,000. My notifications chimed like applause. By 5 a.m., CEOs and recruiters messaged me. Job offers, mentorship opportunities, even a podcast invitation to share my story. I sat back, chest heaving, feeling something I hadn't in years, empowered. I didn't take a single call. I realized that stepping stones are only valuable if you use them. I registered a freelance consultancy, Phoenix Strategies, later that morning. By noon, I pitched my first client, a boutique watchmaker wanting the very rebrand my old firm rejected. They signed on the spot. Months later, Project Phoenix launched across Asia to rave reviews. My name was on every banner. But this wasn't about fame. It was about proof that when a door slams in your face, you don't curse the hallway. You build a new entrance. If you're listening now, raw with disbelief or bleeding from betrayal, hear me. This is not the end. You are not disposable. You are not defined by a pink slip. Use the fall as your footing. Rise. Because I was fired at 5:03 p.m., and by 5 a.m., I had never felt more alive. When dawn light crept through my curtains, it wasn't just a new day, it was a new life. By 6 a.m., my fired at 5 p.m., famous by 5 a.m. post had exploded. Notifications screamed across my screen. LinkedIn alerts, Twitter threads, WeChat messages, even emails from CEOs offering positions I'd only dreamed of. I sat in stunned silence, the glow of the monitor casting shadows across my living room. Each ping was proof that my truth resonated far beyond my cubicle walls. By 7 a.m., the view count topped 50,000. I scrolled through comments, some heartfelt, others skeptical. A user wrote, "Your story is exactly what I needed today." Another warned, "Be careful, big companies will circle like sharks." Mixed in were congratulatory notes. "When can we start?" And "I need your strategy for our brand." It hit me. I wasn't alone in feeling betrayed, and my words had ignited hope. Despite the flurry, one message stood out. It came from Victor Lin, a mentor I'd worked under early in my career. His subject line read, "Opportunity or compromise?" Victor had co-founded a media startup known for edgy campaigns. He offered me a role as creative director at double my former salary, on one condition. I'd have to produce sponsored content that, in his words, bends the truth for impact. I stared at the screen. Here was the first real test of my post-firing ethos. Was I the same man who refused to let loyalty be bought? Or would I seize this chance at security, even if it meant muddying my standards? My palms sweated. The allure of a high salary and instant status warred with my emerging conviction. Authenticity above all. I remembered the emptiness in the boardroom when my boss's praise rang hollow. I recalled walking the bund, each step asking, "Who am I if I forsake my values?" I crafted my reply carefully. "Thank you, Victor. I appreciate the offer, but I can't compromise on honesty. I'm building something different." My heart hammered as I hit send. It was a small act of defiance, but in that moment, it felt revolutionary. Free from corporate chains, I needed a blueprint for Phoenix strategies. I opened a blank document and sketched 3 pillars: storytelling with integrity, data-driven creativity, and community engagement. I outlined a service model. Clients would get full transparency on budgets, creative processes, and performance metrics. No hidden fees, no spin, just clear, honest collaboration. By 10 a.m., I launched a simple landing page with my manifesto. Your brand unfiltered. Your story untamed. Welcome to Phoenix Strategies. I shared it via the same channels that had amplified my firing story. Within hours, I had my first inquiry from an eco-startup looking to overhaul its image. They wanted to talk next week about a lean, candid campaign. I felt that surge again, that blend of fear and exhilaration. But the evening brought the next twist. A former colleague, Grace Chun, reached out with a warning. "Be careful. Someone leaked your deck to the execs you called out. They know exactly what you wrote." She sent a screenshot of a private email chain where my ex-boss Greg had branded my post reckless and threatened legal action for breach of confidentiality. Panic flashed through me. Had I violated some non-disclosure? My public sharing of Project Phoenix Insights was meant to showcase my work, not expose secrets. Yet here was evidence they were digging for dirt. My phone buzzed with anxious texts. "They're suing you. Delete the post. Turn it off." That night, I sat at my desk until 2 a.m., weighing my options. I could remove the contentious pieces, appease the lawyers, and keep building under the radar. Or I could lean into transparency. I recalled the courage that carried me through the bund, the tea house, and the viral post. A timid retreat felt like surrender. So I chose honesty. At 3 a.m., I posted a public update. Yes, I shared my deck. Yes, I spoke my truth. If you see value in an open playbook, I invite you to reach out. If you fear transparency, you're free to look elsewhere. That headline was a challenge more than an invitation. My palms trembled as I clicked publish, knowing there was no turning back. Within minutes, supportive messages rolled in. "We believe in your vision. I want that integrity in my brand. This is the future of marketing." Even some old Brixton, and how colleagues admitted privately they envied my freedom. By morning, the eco-startup had scheduled a call, and 2 other leads emerged from nonprofits and tech firms seeking authentic storytelling. Phoenix Strategies was no longer a spark, it was a flame. I closed my laptop and stepped onto my balcony as dawn broke. The city below stirred, buses, bicycles, early joggers. I raised my coffee cup, thinking of that 3 p.m. moment. Losing my job had felt like death. Yet here I was, alive in a way I'd never been before. Tomorrow, I'd turn these leads into contracts. Next week, hire a part-time designer. By the month's end, I'd have a small team. But right now, I savored the raw, messy beauty of building something honest from the wreckage. The morning light filtered through my home office window as I booted up my laptop, the glow illuminating a new sense of purpose. I was no longer Daniel Ng from Brixton and Howe. I was the founder of Phoenix Strategies, and today marked our first full day of hustle. I reviewed my inbox. 2 emails from the eco-startup, 1 from a tech firm, and a tentative inquiry from a nonprofit arts collective. My calendar felt like a lifeline, back-to-back calls to solidify contracts and outline deliverables. I crafted a concise welcome packet for each client, detailing our transparent process. Clear budgets, collaborative reviews, and data-driven storytelling. This openness was our signature. No hidden fees, no bland corporate jargon, just honest, impactful creativity. By 10 a.m., I was on a video call with Greenwave Innovations, the eco-startup. Their CEO, Li Wei, greeted me with warmth. "Daniel, your manifesto resonated deeply. We want our brand to reflect real change, not greenwashing." We spent an hour mapping a campaign that showcased community cleanups and sustainable living stories. As we wrapped up, Li Wei said, "It feels like we're telling our own story together." His words were more valuable than any paycheck. Next was ByteNext, the tech firm. They were eager to break free from their sterile corporate image. I proposed a series of short films featuring real engineers and their late-night breakthroughs, raw, authentic, human. They loved it. By noon, 2 letters of intent were in my inbox. But success breeds attention, sometimes the wrong kind. Around 2 p.m., I received an anonymous message. "You're building quickly. Don't trust everyone." Attached was a snippet of our eco-startup proposal, marked confidential. A chill ran down my spine. Who would leak our private strategy? Was it a disgruntled former colleague? A competitor? My heart pounded as I realized this was a test of my integrity yet again. Determined to turn this threat into an advantage, I scheduled a webinar for 5 p.m. titled, "Why Transparency Trumps Secrecy in Modern Marketing." I publicly addressed the leak, not to shame anyone, but to demonstrate our commitment to openness. I walked viewers through our process, from initial brainstorming to final metrics, showing every step on screen. No secrets, no spin. By the end, the chat overflowed with applause emojis and messages like, "This is a game changer, and we need more agencies like this." That evening, as I reviewed the webinar's feedback, my phone buzzed with good news. The Arts Collective signed on as our 3rd client, inspired by our emphasis on trust. I leaned back, exhaling deeply. The sabotage attempt had only highlighted our strengths: authenticity, courage, and solidarity with clients. On my balcony, the city lights of Shanghai shimmered against the night sky. I reflected on the journey, from the humiliation of my firing to the daily victories of building something meaningful. Phoenix Strategies was more than a consultancy. It was a movement toward honesty in an often opaque industry. Tomorrow, we'd hire our first team member, a junior strategist passionate about ethical storytelling. But for now, I savored the moment. A founder reborn, leading with integrity and proving that when you rise from the ashes, you shine brightest through the smoke. As Phoenix Strategies celebrated its 1st anniversary, the office, my small apartment nook, felt worlds away from that HR cubicle where my story began. My team had grown: Lynn, our junior strategist, May, our data analyst, and Carlos, a freelance designer who sketched storyboards with the soul of an artist. Together, we crafted campaigns for 5 clients, each one more meaningful than the last. One crisp morning, I opened an email from Greg Tan, my former boss. The subject line read simply, "Let's talk." My stomach twisted. I clicked it. Greg apologized for how things ended and confessed admiration for my transparency-driven success. He offered me a board seat at Brixton and Howe, a chance to steer the very firm that had cast me aside. I stared at the words. A board seat was power, influence, validation. My old self would have leaped at the title. But as I looked around at my team, Lynn's bright eyes quizzing data, May's careful charts, Carlos's sketches strewn across my desk, I realized something profound. My loyalty now belonged to a different kind of family. One built on trust, shared vision, and creative integrity. I took a deep breath and drafted my reply. "Thank you, Greg. I appreciate the gesture, but I must decline. My passion lies in building something new, one that values authenticity above all else. I wish Brixton and House success, and hope we cross paths as partners, not board members. I hit send and felt a weight lift. Behind me, Lynn greeted the news with a grin. May raised her teacup in a quiet toast. Carlos sketched a small phoenix rising, our unofficial emblem. That afternoon, we held a launch party for our latest project, a documentary-style series highlighting frontline healthcare workers combating pollution in rural China. As the first episode streamed live, I watched viewer comments pour in, stories of gratitude, calls for more truth in media, and personal testimonials of hope. In that moment, I understood the full arc of my journey. Losing my job wasn't a derailment. It was the catalyst that propelled me forward. My firing at 5:03 p.m. became the spark for Phoenix Strategies, and by 5 a.m. I didn't just find a job. I found my purpose. As dusk settled, the city lights reflected off my laptop screen, a quiet echo of that first viral sunrise. I sipped my tea and looked at our team's faces. We were no longer playing catch-up in the corporate race. We were setting the pace. I rose and walked to the window, where the neon flicker of the skyline seemed to salute our defiance. To anyone who's ever felt betrayed by a pink slip, remember, the fall can forge your wings. When doors close, build your own and invite others in. Because true success isn't measured by titles or salaries. It's measured by the impact you leave, the integrity you uphold, and the stories you dare to tell.